Stop scrolling. This is not just another video. This message found you, and I need you to understand something very clearly before you go any further. This is not coincidence, and it is not random. Out of millions of videos, out of billions of signals moving across invisible frequencies right now, something aligned perfectly to bring you here, at this exact moment. And what you're about to hear will not repeat. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. This is a one-time energetic alignment, what some call an emerald signal, a rare convergence between your awareness and a higher frequency of possibility. If you ignore it, life will continue exactly as it has. But if you lean in, if you truly listen, something begins to shift. Right now, there is a version of you, more powerful, more abundant, more aligned, already existing, not in the future, not in imagination, but in a parallel layer of reality that operates under quantum laws most people never understand. And tonight, you're being invited to access it. But here's the truth most won't tell you: this door does not stay open forever. The signal activates once, when you are aware enough to receive it. Miss it, and the noise of life buries it again. So before you decide this is just another video, ask yourself, what if it's not? What if this is the moment everything begins to change? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about reality and, more importantly, about yourself. Before we go deeper, take 1 second, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. And here's your task: tell me which part of the country you're watching from. I want to see how far this signal is reaching across the map. Your comment matters, because engagement strengthens this frequency and helps this message reach the exact people who are meant to hear it. Everything you see around you, your room, your phone, your current situation, feels solid, fixed, and real. But what if I told you that, at the deepest level, none of it is actually solid? Science has already confirmed this. When you zoom into matter, past molecules, past atoms, you don't find things, you find energy, vibrations, possibilities. Reality at its core is not made of objects, it is made of probabilities waiting to collapse into form. This is where quantum understanding begins, and where manifestation becomes real, not mystical. Most people live their entire lives reacting to what already exists. They wake up, see their circumstances, and unconsciously confirm them again and again through their thoughts, emotions, and expectations. But what they don't realize is that observation itself influences reality. In quantum physics, this is known as the observer effect, the idea that the act of observing something changes its state. Now think about that carefully. If your awareness affects reality, then your focus is not passive, it is creative. Your mind is not just processing reality, it is participating in shaping it. Every belief you hold acts like a filter, selecting which version of reality you experience. This is why two people can live in the same world but experience completely different lives. One sees opportunity, the other sees limitation. One expects growth, the other expects struggle. And over time, those expectations solidify into lived experience. Now here's where it gets deeper. The quantum field, the invisible space that contains all possibilities, does not respond to your words. It responds to your state of being. You cannot say, "I want abundance," while internally feeling lack, and expect alignment. The field reads your dominant frequency, not your temporary desires. This is why manifestation fails for most people. They try to change outcomes without changing identity. To access a different reality, you must become the version of yourself that already exists in that reality. That means thinking differently, feeling differently, and most importantly, believing differently. But belief is not something you force, it is something you condition. Repetition, focus, and emotional intensity rewire your internal state over time. Think of your brain like a receiver, constantly tuning into frequencies. If you're tuned to fear, doubt, and limitation, you will continue to receive experiences that match those frequencies. But if you begin to shift, even slightly, toward confidence, clarity, and possibility, something incredible starts to happen. New opportunities appear. New ideas come to you. Synchronicities begin to increase. This is not magic, it is alignment. And this is what the emerald signal represents. A moment where your awareness becomes sharp enough to recognize that you are not stuck. You are not defined by your past. You are not limited by your current situation. You are a conscious participant in a dynamic, responsive universe. But awareness alone is not enough, because once you see this truth, you are faced with a choice. You can return to your old patterns, your old identity, your old excuses. Or you can step into something unfamiliar, something uncertain, and begin to consciously create. And here's the part most people struggle with: stepping into a new identity feels uncomfortable. It feels unnatural at first, because your nervous system is wired for familiarity, not success. Even if your current situation is limiting, it feels safe, because it is known. Growth requires you to move beyond that. So the real question is not, can you manifest? The real question is, are you willing to let go of who you've been in order to become who you need to be? Because the moment you do, reality begins to respond. Right now, there is a subtle shift happening within you. You may not be able to fully explain it, but you can feel it. A sense that something is changing. That something is calling you to move beyond your current level of awareness. This is what we refer to as activation, the moment when your perception begins to expand beyond conditioned thinking. The emerald signal is not something external. It is not a sound, a light, or a message coming from outside. It is an internal recognition, a realization that you are capable of more, not in a motivational sense, but in a deeply real, almost undeniable way. It feels like remembering something you forgot, rather than learning something new. But here's the truth: activation without action leads to frustration. Many people experience moments of clarity, inspiration, even spiritual awakening, but they don't follow through. They return to old habits, old environments, old thought patterns, and slowly that clarity fades.
Why?
Because identity did not change. Your identity is the foundation of your reality. It determines what you believe you deserve, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. If you still identify as someone who struggles, doubts, or hesitates, then even the most powerful insights will not transform your life. They will simply become memories. To truly activate this signal, you must begin to shift your identity at a core level. This does not mean pretending or faking confidence. It means consciously choosing who you are becoming and aligning your thoughts and actions with that version. Start by asking yourself a simple but powerful question. Who would I be if I already had what I desire? Not what would you have, but who would you be? How would you think? How would you respond to challenges? How would you carry yourself? This is where manifestation becomes practical. It is not about visualizing once and hoping for results. It is about consistent alignment. Every decision you make either reinforces your old identity or strengthens your new one. And here's something most people overlook. Emotion is the bridge between thought and reality. You cannot simply think your way into a new life. You must feel it as real. Gratitude, confidence, certainty. These are not just emotions, they are signals. They communicate to the quantum field that you are already aligned with a certain reality. This is why high performers, leaders, and creators often speak about feeling it before it happens. They are not guessing, they are aligning. But alignment requires discipline. It requires awareness of your thoughts, control over your reactions, and the willingness to interrupt negative patterns before they take over. This is not easy, especially in a world designed to distract, overwhelm, and condition you into passivity, which is why this moment matters. Because right now you are aware, you are listening, you are open. And that is rare. The emerald signal activates only when awareness and readiness meet. And when it does, it creates a window, a short period where change becomes easier, faster, and more natural. But that window does not stay open forever. So what you do next matters more than anything. Will you apply this? Will you begin to observe your thoughts, shift your identity, and consciously align with the version of yourself you know you can become? Or will this become just another video you watched and forgot? Because the truth is simple. Your life will not change by accident. It changes when you do. There comes a moment in every transformation where information is no longer enough. You've heard the ideas, you understand the concepts, and somewhere deep inside you know this is real. But knowing is not power, decision is. Because the quantum field does not respond to hesitation, it responds to certainty. And certainty is not something you wait for, it is something you choose. Right now your life exists as a pattern, a loop of thoughts, emotions, and actions repeating over time. This loop creates predictability, and predictability creates the illusion that your future is already decided. But what most people never realize is that this loop can be interrupted at any moment, not gradually, not someday, instantly. The moment you decide to think differently, act differently, and see yourself differently, the trajectory of your life begins to shift. In quantum terms, This is the collapse of possibility into reality. Before observation, everything exists as potential. Multiple outcomes, multiple paths, multiple versions of you, all existing simultaneously. But the moment you focus, the moment you commit, one of those possibilities becomes real. Not because it was chosen for you, but because you aligned with it. This is why indecision is so dangerous. When you hesitate, you remain in a scattered state. Your energy is divided. Your focus is weak. And instead of collapsing a powerful reality, you remain stuck in a loop of almost starting, almost changing, almost becoming, and over time, almost turns into regret. But the emerald signal is not about almost. It is about activation. It is about stepping fully into a decision so clear, so strong, that your mind, your body, and your actions begin to align automatically. This is where things begin to accelerate. Think about the moments in your life where everything changed. It wasn't slow. It wasn't uncertain. It was a decision. A moment where you said, "This is it," and something inside you locked in. That's the state you need to access now, because here's the truth most people avoid. Your current reality is not just happening to you. It is being maintained by you. Through your habits, your expectations, your identity. And while that may feel uncomfortable to accept, it is also incredibly empowering. Because if you are maintaining it, you can change it. But change requires clarity. You must decide what you actually want, not based on fear, not based on limitation, but based on possibility. And then you must eliminate every version of yourself that contradicts that vision. The doubts, the excuses, the old stories. They cannot come with you. This is where discipline becomes spiritual. Because discipline is not punishment. It is alignment in action. Every time you choose focus over distraction, growth over comfort, belief over doubt, you are strengthening a new reality. You are telling the quantum field, "This is who I am now." And slowly, then suddenly, things begin to shift. You start noticing opportunities that were always there but invisible to your previous mindset. You respond differently to challenges. You attract different people, different conversations, different outcomes. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the most powerful part. Once you fully commit, once your identity begins to stabilize at a higher level, your external reality has no choice but to catch up. It may not happen instantly. It may not happen in the way you expect. But it will happen, because reality cannot resist a consistent aligned frequency. This is the collapse. This is the shift. This is the moment where potential becomes real. But only if you decide not tomorrow, not later, now. At this point, you've felt it. The awareness, the pull, the possibility. You've seen beyond the surface of reality and recognized that something deeper is at play. But this final chapter is where everything comes together, because understanding the signal is not enough. You must become it. The emerald signal was never something separate from you. It was never something you were waiting to receive. It was always a reflection of your own awareness, reaching a level where you could finally recognize your power. And now that you see it, the responsibility shifts to you. Because from this moment forward, you cannot go back to unconscious living. You cannot pretend you don't know what you now know. Every thought, every reaction, every decision, you will be aware of the role it plays in shaping your reality. And that awareness is both a gift and a test. This is where most people fall back, not because they can't change, but because consistency requires effort. It requires you to show up every day as the version of yourself you are becoming, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. But here's the truth. Your feelings are not commands. They are signals, and you can choose whether or not to follow them. Just because you feel doubt doesn't mean you act on it. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you stop. The most powerful individuals in any field are not those who feel the least fear. They are those who act despite it. This is mastery. And mastery is not about perfection. It is about awareness and correction. You will have moments where you fall back into old patterns. That is part of the process. But the difference now is that you will recognize it faster. You will catch it sooner, and you will shift back into alignment more quickly. Over time, this becomes your default state. Confidence becomes natural, focus becomes automatic. Opportunities become expected, not because you are lucky, but because you are aligned. You are operating at a frequency that attracts and creates those outcomes. And this is where manifestation reaches its highest level. Not when you are trying to create something, but when you are simply being the person who naturally experiences it. No force, No struggle, just alignment. But let me be clear. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Because once you step into this level of awareness, growth does not stop. There is always another level, another expansion, another version of yourself waiting to be realized. And each time the process repeats. Awareness, decision, alignment, transformation. But this first shift, this activation, this moment right now is the most important one, because it is the one that breaks the cycle. So take a second, breathe, and recognize where you are. You are not the same person who started this video. Something has shifted. And whether you fully realize it or not, you are already moving differently. The only question left is, will you continue? Will you carry this awareness into your daily life? Will you observe your thoughts, align your actions, and step fully into the version of yourself you now see? Or will you let this fade like every other moment of inspiration that came before? Because the signal will not repeat. Not like this. Not at this intensity. This was your window. And now it's your move.